News Talk KVNU.
The information from the Pretty Balanced Perspective.
Online at kvnutalk.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. A 33-year-old Hiram man who has already been charged with multiple felonies and misdemeanors has been arrested again for allegedly threatening to kill the judge overseeing his current case. Hunter A. Smith was booked again Monday into the Cache County Jail, where he's already been held on other charges. According to the arrest report, Cache County Sheriff's deputies allege that Smith placed a phone call to a woman immediately following an appearance before Judge Brandon Maynard Monday afternoon. During the call, he stated several times he was going to kill the judge, explaining how he felt that he was being held illegally. The phone call was being recorded and monitored by jail deputies. Prosecutors with the Cache County Attorney's Office filed a new case against Smith in First District Court Wednesday morning. They charged him with one count of threat against a judge, a third-degree felony. Court records show the new case was assigned to Judge Angela Fonsbeck. Smith is scheduled to appear before her Monday afternoon during a virtual hearing. Smith was originally arrested in February on charges of trying to rape a 15-year-old girl. He later pleaded guilty to an amended count of sexual battery, a Class A misdemeanor, and was sentenced to 45 days in jail, followed by 2 years probation. In October, Smith was arrested again and charged with one count of obstruction of justice, a secondary felony, and 3 counts of possession of a firearm by a restricted person, a third-degree felony. Jail record shows Smith is being held without bail. He could face up to 15 years in prison if convicted. Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow's trial is about a year away. East Idaho News reports District Judge Stephen Boyce set the couple's 10-week trial for January 2023. The two face multiple charges in connection to the deaths of Lori Vallow Daybell's children, J.J. Vallow, age 7, and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. The two are also charged in the death of Chad Daybell's former wife, Tammy Daybell. The two children went missing in 2019, and Tammy Daybell reportedly died in her sleep in October. The following month, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell were married in eastern Idaho. The two then left the state for Hawaii as a national search was happening for J.J. and Tylee. A court ordered Vallow to produce her children. She was later arrested in Hawaii and extradited back to Idaho when she failed to comply. In June 2020, the children's remains were discovered buried on Chad Daybell's property in Idaho. He was later arrested. Due to the suspicious circumstances surrounding the children's deaths, authorities exhumed Tammy Daybell's body and conducted an autopsy. The results of that autopsy were sent to Idaho officials in February. And Alex Duca scored 13 points and his 2 free throws with .9 seconds left gave St. Mary's a 60-58 win over Utah State in the Spectrum last night. Justin Bean led the Aggies with 19 points and 10 rebounds. KVNU weather brought to you by Roof Rescue. Their experienced roofing team is tried and true and will fix your roof, guaranteed. Visit roofrescueusa.com to schedule your free roof inspection. That's roofrescueusa.com. Roof Rescue, providing watertight peace of mind. Mostly clear, hazy tonight, low in the mid-20s, and then partly cloudy in the morning, then mostly sunny, high around 50. It's been to 53 today. For the latest news, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
The family's coming home for the holidays, and you'll need sofas to sit on, beds to sleep in, and tables to eat at. Upgrade your furniture for less than you think at U&I Furniture. Their #1 selling mattress is a Therapeutic Queen mattress for $399. An upgrade to a Maloof for only $599. Take home a good deal on an American-made Sofa Love or recliner from Franklin, Southern Motion, Broyhill, and Lane. And their most popular dining set seats 6 with 4 chairs and a bench for $899. Get your home holiday ready at the place where there's always a better buy. U&I Furniture, 28 West 1st North, downtown Logan.
Local news and the best talk. News Talk KVNU.
Several families who need help this holiday season have been nominated by trusted individuals. Some of them need winter clothes, others would like toys or music, and others simply need basic necessities. The Cache Valley Media Group is sponsoring Cares for Christmas. Visit caresforchristmas.org to see what these families need, then drop off your donations to 810 West, 200 North in Logan. Thank you for helping these deserving families, and thanks for caring this Christmas.
Hello? This is Fred Rogers. Are there things that make you angry? What do you do when you're angry? Do you have ways of showing you're angry? Ways that don't hurt you or anybody else?
Welcome back to KVN News For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Andy. I
hope you're having
I have the privilege
tremendous Friday
of getting to hear as we're waiting, as Bill does the news there and we're getting ready for the show to start. I have the privilege of getting to hear what you're going to talk about.
You said privilege.
Privilege of getting to hear the luxury of getting to hear you talk about what you're going to talk about.
Yapping
so
around.
I have an idea of the movies you're going to get to.
Are you excited?
I'm actually really disappointed in one that I know you're going to talk about because I had really high hopes for it.
Should we talk about that one first?
Do you want to start with the flop?
Let's tell everybody.
I'm really, really sad about what you're about to report.
This will be a good segue. Let me just give everyone a rundown of what's in theaters right now.
That's a good idea.
Because we obviously were not here last week or Thanksgiving. We hope everybody had a nice holiday.
And we wrapped up. We talked about Ghostbusters and King Richard,
which were both great movies. King Richard you can see on HBO Max. Ghostbusters is only in theaters. But there are movies that opened over Thanksgiving, and there's movies that are opening this week. One movie actually. Disney has a new cartoon. Should probably call it a cartoon. A new animated movie. Animated feature. Does that make?
I wondered how Disney was able to they got us all to go along with that. Stop calling them cartoons.
Animated
and we all
feature.
played along.
Best
We were just like, okay,
feature.
they're fancy now. They're animated features.
So this one's called Encanto.
Still kind of a cartoon.
I didn't see any. We didn't. I myself did not get a press invite to. They were like, "This snooty guy never watches animated features," which is not true. Disney, because
you do. You love them,
but you're going to be.
In fact, you mentioned that you had a favorite from this year so far, which
I had one and it got bumped over this past week.
What was that one though?
It was Mitchell's versus the Machines, which was just fantastic.
Still on Netflix.
Luca is good too. I don't want to disparage Luca. I really think Sing 2 could knock everything out of contention. And by that I mean not. I'm so sorry. I haven't even seen it. Someone's out there like, hey man, I liked Sing 1.
I don't know why they're doing
Don't
Sing
you like
2?
American Idol?
Movie Boy? Too. Movie Boy?
Anyhow,
Still want to meet the man who... Anyway,
I'd like to meet him too. I only know his voice. Encanto is the new animated feature from Disney that's playing at the Providence Theater and I believe at the University. The House of Gucci, which we'll talk about in just a second, is also a movie that opened up. That's a Ridley Scott movie starring Lady Gaga, Jared Leto, which you wouldn't know, Al Pacino.
Didn't he put on a lot lot of weight for this one?
I don't know if it was weight, as it was a fat suit. That
is it prosthetics? Okay.
Like, hey, why is their brother wear prosthetics? That's what I just kept thinking the whole time. And it's also got Jeremy Irons and then Adam Driver. Adam Driver's like the grown-up Timothée Chalamet, right?
Yeah,
like
he's kind of in everything.
Like Hollywood's like, hey, who should we cast? What about Adam Driver?
He hasn't been in something for 25 minutes.
I don't think he really fits. Cast him anyway.
It'll work.
We're doing Zorro.
He's got black hair. It's Italians.
Exactly. There's a new Resident Evil movie. Welcome to Raccoon City.
You mentioned this also has Al Pacino, Selma Hayek, Jeremy Irons.
Selma Hayek I did not know about, but she actually plays a fairly large role. Jeremy Irons I didn't know, obviously Al Pacino.
This just has so many people in it that are usually good. And directed by Ridley Scott. I thought this is going to be amazing.
And
anyway,
you may still be right. You'll find out in 15 seconds.
Okay.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
There's also a movie called Christmas with the Chosen.
Oh, I saw that. That's in Cache Valley this week.
Yeah, that's not like an evening with me. Someone's like, that's not very.
Is that Dinner with Andy in a movie?
That's not funny. I'm just kidding. That is at the Providence Theater.
Where did this one come from? Because usually
Provo, I think.
Is it? This Utah
idea.
made.
It is.
Okay,
I believe so.
That's what
I don't know. I'm not completely familiar with it, but I know it's very popular. I think it's on. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing, but
okay.
Because
I'd heard this before.
Christmas with the Chosen. That is playing in both theaters, actually, University and Providence. And also should point out that I did when I said Encanto was in University as well as Ghostbusters, King Richard, and Eternals is still playing. Dune is actually still playing in Providence. But
yeah, I was surprised by that.
Let's talk about House of Gucci because I thought I might be on the out here. I was actually I was looking forward to this.
I really was.
Same reason you were.
It looked hilarious. Ridley Scott.
Yeah, exactly.
Some great actors.
Right. I know. I completely agree. I thought this is going to be, I love Ridley Scott. I'm a Ridley Scott apologist.
Sure. And I'm an Al Pacino in a comedy role.
I love
apologist.
Al Pacino in everything.
I love him in comedic roles.
Well, that's the whole thing.
He's just good in that.
I don't know what this is. It's called a crime drama is what it's labeled as. I thought it was like part of the Naked Gun franchise. I'm just kidding. No, it's
awfully big mustache.
It's just such a terrible movie. It really is. It's from the minute the movie starts. There's just a vibe to it that I didn't know the story behind this, so I was kind of learning this story of this Gucci, the House of Gucci, in this 80s sort of fashion fueled AIDS is in the background, drugs, like there's all these things going on in the 80s. And I didn't care. Like, honestly, I didn't care about any of the characters. They just were all, I hated everyone in this movie. And maybe that was how I was supposed to feel. I wanted Lady Gaga there's some good acting. I will say that. Lady Gaga is great. I think, Adam Driver is solid. Jared Leto, it's clownish. It's so clownish because it's clear that he's in prosthetics.
Okay.
Especially when
I thought he was method. I thought he actually gained weight for this.
He gained weight for a role like 4 or 5 years ago playing Mark David Chapman, the guy that killed John Lennon.
That's right.
But to your point, you'd think he'd do it here.
And he lost a lot of weight for the Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
What was that called? I forget.
Your Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like a skeleton in that.
And Jared Leto, it's almost like he can't act. Like if you saw I can't remember. I should probably just
soften that a little bit.
I should just put a period at the.
It's almost like he can't act.
It's almost like he can't act.
Tries so hard
if he's not playing an extreme character like the Joker or Dallas Buyers Club, where he's someone completely different than who he is. And I guess that's what acting is. So whatever. But this is just he's wearing he's bald. He's got a fat suit on. And he's like, and this might come across as offensive, but he's like, think about that guy that does like the worst Italian impression. Like that's basically my Jared Leto in this. Hey, what are you guys doing?
Oh,
hey,
The Simpsons.
If his name was Geppetto, it would have just, or Pinocchio, it would have just fit. Like, hey, what do you know? Like it just was terrible. Honestly. I was I told you this during the break. I've only fallen asleep in movies twice in like the last 15 years. And I don't think I've ever fell asleep before that until the only movie before that I fell asleep in was in Star Trek, the motion picture, and I was 5. So,
if you're 5, you got to
forgiven. But I fell asleep in Sherlock Holmes on the 4th time I saw it, which is allowed. When your wife says, we should go see Sherlock Holmes again, and you go,
Because I love those movies, I should say, but they're slow. So like time number 4,
they're great. The first few times, but like 4,
but they're slower. They're not
when you're like acting the movie in your head. Like
they're not Michael Bay.
No, Michael Bay. I'd probably fall asleep in viewing 1.5. But this, I fell asleep about midway through this movie. I actually when I woke up, I had to be like, wait. Why is that guy dead? You know what I mean? Like, it just was. I didn't like anything about it. It has a 63%. I'd like to know from Rotten Tomatoes what they consider fresh. Is it just barely over failing? Because 63% is terrible. That's a D-, right?
I think they
in letter grades. That's a D-.
And some of these reviews are. This is interesting. So we've talked a lot about whether Rotten Tomatoes is really that useful. I think one of the ways that it is useful are the negative reviews. If the negative reviews are just like, not my cup of tea, you might like it. But the negative reviews on this one are merciless. These critics are angry.
Yeah, I was angry
this.
when I left. I hated every minute of that movie. You know what I mean? And I can't. Some of this stuff that they put in here, some of these positive reviews, I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like this one, I think it's fun. I think it's extremely silly. I think it's totally all over the place. I think it's definitely worth watching. Everything that person just listed, I completely agree with, and it's why it's a garbage movie.
Why it's not worth watching.
It's not fun, and it is silly, and it is tonally all over the place. You know, it opens up, and it's just terrible.
So I saw, I
movie.
don't remember who wrote it at Roger Ebert's site. It's never Roger Ebert anymore.
Aww.
He died. But I don't remember who the author was, what the byline was. But they basically said that this is one of those movies that could be great because it's unintentionally becoming a comedy as the movie plays out. But the problem is it's just not that funny. So it ends up being an unintentional bad comedy when Ridley Scott was trying to make a crime movie. And it just, in the end, nothing works.
I think that's honestly one of the biggest betrayals of to moviegoers is when you pitch a movie one way and then they go and it almost was he playing games this year? Because like The Last Duel, he's like,
yeah,
he's like, the trailer's like, hey, did you want to see a goofy wannabe like King Arthur show? And everyone was like, not really. And then people went and saw it, and they were like, "Hey, this is actually kind of good."
Yeah.
And then this House of Gucci, he's like, "Hey, are you looking for a sophisticated crime thriller centered in the fashion industry that's a true story?" And everyone's like, "You bet I am."
I'm there.
And he's like, "Just kidding. How about a silly comedy?"
Well, that's not the movie I made.
He might have
watched this instead.
He should have just thrown an alien into it at one point, and Russell Crowe as the gladiator. I mean, it would have like totally fit. But that movie was trash. I can actually tell you what grade I give it because I gave that movie a C. And the only reason I gave it a C is because of the acting. That's it.
That was it.
Adam Driver's fairly solid. Again, Lady Gaga pretty much carries the movie. Everyone else is just... I'm going to say something that's going to probably make people sad. But Al Pacino and Jack Nicholson, those guys need to just like hang it up.
Yeah,
unless they want to play the grandpa in the wheelchair that never talks,
which Robert De Niro has decided
he's kind of going that way too.
Yeah,
which is sad because I realize that's some actors from our generation, but like Robert Redford had the right idea when he was like, you know what, Clint Eastwood should have got the memo after Cry Macho. I hope he does.
Yeah. That's,
but in fact, you know what? That's probably the closest thing I can come to describing the amount of irritation I have for this movie. Is I Cry Macho, I gave a D because the acting does not save it. But Cry Macho, I saw the trailer and I thought, I actually kind of got a little lump in my throat. I was like, okay,
yeah,
maybe. And then I watched it and I thought, I hate every second of this movie.
I was anyway. I was less angry about Cry Macho.
Do you think that's because you'll hear somebody like just bomb on it like me, and then you
feel like defending it a little bit?
No, then you go watch it and you go, that wasn't as bad as he said. Does that happen?
Cry Macho, I probably would actually... so I won't defend Cry Macho. I probably would defend Cry Macho if something else would have happened at the end. For those who haven't seen it,
I just
spoiler
got tired
alert,
of that kid going... Macho.
At the end of the movie, the hero basically of the movie, this kid that the entire movie centered around,
goes to live with his abusive,
he goes to live with
father.
his abusive, neglected. Yeah,
I probably shouldn't say abusive, neglectful.
Well,
father.
I'm emotionally abusive, manipulative at least, and that's how it ends. Like it just the problem that's set up throughout the whole movie isn't solved.
Well, and what he didn't know either was when he was walking across the border from Mexico to the United States, that Dwight Yoakam was really just there posing for a new album cover.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
I did learn that through Cry Macho too. Dwight Yoakam not convincing as a bad guy, as a bad good guy.
We didn't even know what. Yeah,
good bad guy.
Yeah,
back and forth.
Yeah, it's, you know what? House of Gucci's in theaters right now. If you are a huge Lady Gaga fan, you know,
there you go.
what does she call her fans? The little monsters, whatever they are. Go for it. Otherwise, skip it until it comes out on streaming. It's not worth it. Not worth it. There's other things that we will talk about that you should watch.
Okay. Big old C for the
Lucky
House of
C. We'll call it Lucky
a
C.
generous C.
Generous C.
For House of Gucci. But we've got a lot more to talk about. Andy told us before the show that he is literally swimming in a pile of screeners for movies coming up over the next several weeks. So we'll talk about everything coming down the pike and in theaters this weekend right after this.
Hey, it's Al Lewis. Let's talk buttons. Not the buttons on your clothes. I'm talking the kind you press. Fresh cup of coffee, a button. Top floor of an office building, just a simple click. Everyday buttons make our lives way easier. If you have sleep apnea and can't use CPAP, there's a button that can help you go from this to this. It's called Inspire. It works inside your body with just the click of a remote. That's right, a button. It's a small device placed during a same-day outpatient procedure. Simply click the button on the Inspire remote before you fall asleep. As you sleep, Inspire keeps you breathing normally and sleeping peacefully. If you struggle with CPAP, great sleep awaits at InspireSleep.com. That's InspireSleep.com. Inspire. Sleep apnea innovation. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
At Winco, we do everything to save you money with low prices and top quality products throughout the store. Big savings on fresh meat, produce, seafood, and deli. And even bigger savings in our huge bulk item section. At Winco, there's never a membership fee to shop top quality products at low prices.
Now open in Logan at 1341 North Main Street.
So you get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Remember the words you told me, love me till the day I die. Surrender my everything, 'cause you made me believe you're mine. Yeah, you used to call
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan of AndyAtTheMovies.com. Andy just gave a C to the House of Gucci.
Lucky C.
It's too bad because Ridley Scott's great. Some of the people in this great, and but
there's some people that need to
probably
retire.
Be waiting for streaming for this one. So what shouldn't I wait to stream?
Well, let me tell you something. let me also point out one other thing. Tickets are going like crazy for Spider-Man No Way Home,
which is two weeks.
Next week, end of next week. So that'll be the movie we talk about next Friday.
Okay,
I believe, right?
I think so. Well,
no, maybe not.
I think it's the 17th.
What day is it? Right now. Yeah, you're right. I think it'll be the following week.
Well, I just happened to see that.
It is. I'm sorry. It's the next week.
Okay.
So 2 weeks.
But you can buy tickets now.
You can. And they're selling out really fast for the opening night. We haven't seen this kind of action, even for some of the movies that were first coming back, like Black Widow, just whatever in the summer. This is maybe the first movie where we may have a legitimate box office blockbuster
with Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yep. And honestly,
makes sense.
I started thinking about this. I started thinking there's a way to build. I would actually like to see studios do this more. I would like to see them build more excitement based off don't start bludgeoning us with advertisements.
Yeah.
I like the Star Wars formula where you have a teaser a year before the movie comes out, then you drop a full trailer about 6 months to 4 months before the movie comes out,
Yeah.
And then you have a few like ad spots leading up, like in the 3-4 weeks before that. And somebody on the marketing and PR side might say, well, that's because it's a brand and everyone's going to go no matter what. Even if they didn't advertise it, they'd still go.
Yeah, which is true.
But I just think sometimes you get overexposed, in my opinion. And I think in this day and age of so much streaming, I almost think that they're just bludgeoned to death by entertainment. And I just think they can't. This is my running theory, because the box office isn't down right now because people are like, everyone's like, well, everyone's staying home. That's part of it, right? That's part of it.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest part of it. It's not because people don't like movies or they want to watch them at home. It's just, I don't think people are ready to jump completely back into the theater. There's only been a few screenings that I've been to where I've been like, okay, this seems normal, right? It's just, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe in 2 years, right? Because I don't think we'll see a full return to normalcy until probably 2023. And so if we get to that point 2 years from now and theaters are still struggling, I'll eat my tie. But I just think talking about box office numbers at this point is just silly because it's not apples to apples. We can't say, oh, Hollywood's having a down year. Well, everyone's having a down year to some degree.
Yeah.
Our souls are having down years.
Yeah. No, I've always thought that it was and maybe Spider-Man will be that. I thought it was a combination of people when something forces you out.
Yeah.
And then maybe you have to be a little compelled to come back in. And we've had, not that we haven't had great potential blockbuster stuff. I thought Shang-Chi had
it's
potential.
a nice surprise.
Yeah, that was really good.
September, it's kind of weirdly placed.
Yeah. And the Eternals, I think it had the potential.
The funny thing was there used to only be blockbusters. You had 3 times for blockbusters, right?
Yeah.
Really? 4 times.
June, July.
You had Thanksgiving, Christmas, Memorial Day, 4th of July.
Yeah.
That was it. You tried to secure those spots. Big movies open that. We're to the point now, and this is where I talk about oversaturation, where every week there's supposed to be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
Right? Some type of blockbuster that's going to have a big opening. And so we used to talk about, remember on this show, we talk about like the winter doldrums and things like that, where you're like, well, it's January. Don't expect anything, worth watching.
Yeah.
But we're not at that point anymore. Every weekend there's something, I almost feel like there's some strategy that goes into it, but most of it's been jettisoned.
Yeah.
And then again, I think, I run into this, I call it streaming, like, I was trying to think of a clever term for it the other day, but it's like, something like stage fright, but it's like streaming fright, where I sit down and say, I'm going to watch a show. And then I go, what's on Netflix? And then I go, well, what's on Amazon Prime? Well, what's on Hulu? Well, what's on Disney Plus? And then by the time I'm done with that, I've spent 45 minutes to an hour just shuffling through things. And I'm like, well, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. That was fun.
I've done that.
Do you do that?
A few times, yeah.
How many times
or
do you think
I've also, I'll bet it's once a week at least.
And
I have a night where, yeah. And then, so I've kind of adjusted to this. And this is why I sort of hope things get a little back towards more theater oriented. I've started so many things.
Yeah, and then you don't finish.
And it kind of rattles around the back of your head. There's a German murder mystery called Dark. I think they're in the 5th season now, and I'm halfway through season 2, fully intending to finish this. I loved it. But there's just too much. And so you throw HBO Max and movie premieres on top of that, and I'm over there watching Dune. I think I watched Dune 4 times on HBO Max, in addition to seeing it in theaters twice. And and I'm not watching all this other stuff that I fully intend to get back to. And yeah,
I'm the same way. Unless I'm dialed into something, and right now my things are, I'm watching. I watched a lot of stuff that I missed, like in the early 2000s or mid 2000s when I decided I didn't like TV.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones changed that for me, and I kind of let TV. But this is why I've never watched TV, Jason, for the same reason we're talking about why streaming is so hard, because I don't want to. It's hard for me to commit to something that's past a couple hours.
I have a hard time with TV because I will watch like 2 weeks in a row, like episode 1, episode 2. Oh, this is great. I'm going to make time for this every week.
And then you
Third
forget.
week, I forget or something happens. Or
It happens. I mean, I did that with Ted
so I
Lasso.
like streaming for that. Better Call Saul. That's another one that I started that 3 years ago.
And you haven't
I
finished?
planned to finish it. I loved it.
I did this.
Never have.
I did this with Westworld. I got through like episode 5 or 6 of the first season, and then I was like, yeah, that's okay. I got other things to do. And then I did the same thing
with Westworld.
I did
for
the
me.
same thing with the first 3 episodes of Succession. I did the same thing with someone was like, oh man, you like Game of Thrones? You should watch Deadwood. And I was like, this show's terrible.
Yeah.
There was something
Deadwood,
else
I never understood.
Working Moms. That was another one on Netflix.
Oh, I love.
It's great. That's probably one of the ones.
The thing I would say about Working Moms, though, based on the reaction from friends I've recommended it to, if that opening scene in episode 1 does not make you laugh, don't continue.
It's not your show
because the entire show is that scene, and it's hilarious to me. But
it's funny.
But yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, taking it. So now what I've started watching, the Game of Thrones is. I'm on a Game of Thrones hiatus. I'm watching Yellowstone, which it really is not very fun when you have to wait every Sunday.
Yeah.
Which is just, well, anyway. And then I'm watching, I'm rewatching Ted Lasso, and then I'm also I'm starting New Girl. It's actually really funny. I don't know how.
Is it?
Yeah. Anyway. And I'm not a big fan of Zoe, what's her name?
Zoe, what's her face?
She just bugs for
Yeah.
some reason. She still kind of bugs, but this show's actually kind of made me like. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm sorry. I want to offer a public apology. Anyhow, talking about streaming though, there's a show streaming on Netflix called Tick Tick Boom.
Yeah,
and it stars Andrew Garfield, who most people know as Eduardo Saverin from The Social Network. That's kind of where he got his start. He's actually been in a lot of stuff since then. That was obviously 2010. He's probably next, or he's even known for this more, but he was obviously Spider-Man for a couple films. But in this, he plays I can't remember his last name, John. He's the writer. The guy behind Rent, the popular Broadway musical, the hit Broadway musical Rent. And just kind of his, I don't know, this sort of like New York, and this is a musical. This is not like a straight up docudrama kind of thing. This is an actual musical.
Yeah.
It's a musical about a musical.
It is. It's a musical about the making of a musical.
It is.
Which is kind of unique.
It's directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. And it's great. It really is. You and I were joking during the break about there's one song at the beginning, something Bohemia, and it's just anyway. It's just like it's a room full of theater kids, like having a good time, and I thought it was kind of funny, but I was like, if I'd had a VHS, I might have popped it out at that point and been like, nope, chucked it into the street. But and I'm being half kidding, but this turned out to be a straight up A for me. In fact, I would say there's a real good possibility that Andrew Garfield might end up being on my top 5.
Really?
For Best Actor.
For Best Actor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just a great, I don't know. It was a great show. Great music. Vanessa Hudgens is in it. She just plays a minor role as one of the singers and performers in a couple of his productions. I told you I kept waiting for her to just suddenly, she's supposed to have one number, and then instead she goes off with Breaking Free from High School Musical.
Yeah.
But it's great.
You do expect that.
It's a great show. It's PG-13, I believe. Just some language and some suggestive material, but I liked it. I really liked it.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So check it out. That's on Netflix. See that. If other than House of Gucci, leave the Guccis.
Leave the Guccis too.
Leave the Guccis in Italy.
Oh wow, we've got to go to the news.
A couple other
I got lost in your
in my sultry voice. Let me just tell you 2 other quick things. If you have Hulu, Summer of Soul is a documentary about the Harlem Music Festival.
Oh yeah.
It's done by Questlove. He's the guy behind it. That's actually I just learned a lot of things. It was really good. That's trending on Hulu. Another thing you could stream, too, on Showtime. If you have Showtime, there's a documentary called Attica about the prison riots.
That's actually
a lot
really
of stuff
good.
I didn't know about that. A lot of stuff that's very prevalent with criminal justice reform today. Take a close look at that. Another one we talked about, too, Cusp. That's a documentary that follows 3 Texas teenagers. That was at Sundance last year, and it is very, very, very hard watch.
And you said that is on...
It's such a that's on Showtime.
Oh,
that one's on
okay.
Showtime. As is Attica. Cusp. The hard part with that is it's such a beautifully made movie or documentary that you can't kind of take your eyes off of it. But the subject matter and just what's going on is so hard to consume.
It's
especially as
dark.
a parent. It is, and I would highly suggest watching it because the things that these girls face. It's tough, man.
Yeah.
It really just gave me kind of new perspective that, our kids, they face a lot these days, more than I faced. So check it out. Yeah. But there's a couple other movies we'll talk about that came out last week when we come back from the news, when we're done listening to Bill's sultry voice.
Sounds perfect. And now, without delay, Bill's sultry voice. For the People Movie Show returns after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. The Utah Department of Health has confirmed the first case of the Omicron COVID-19 variant in the state of Utah. According to a statement from authorities today, the individual is an older adult living in the Southwest Utah Public Health District who had recently returned home from a trip to South Africa. According to the statement, the person is fully vaccinated, received monoclonal antibody treatment, and is recovering at home after experiencing only mild symptoms. The UDOH conducted a thorough case investigation, including identifying any close contacts of the case. Officials say the individual who tested positive, as well as the person's close contacts, have been very cooperative and are following isolation guidance from public health authorities. 2 police officers who were hospitalized after a fatal overnight shooting with a suspect in Taylorsville are recovering. Fox 13 reports the incident happened at 7-Eleven at 4100 South and Redwood Road on the border of West Valley City at around 10 o'clock Wednesday night. During the confrontation, the suspect, identified as 20-year-old Ane Gabriel Joker, was holding a 9-month-old baby while sitting in a vehicle. After initially refusing to release the child, Joker gave up the infant following negotiations with law enforcement. Once he released the baby, Joker began firing at officers, striking 2 with gunfire. Joker was hit with returning gunfire from as many as 10 officers and transported to the hospital, where he later died. One of the officers shot is a 5-year veteran detective of the West Valley City Police Department and was originally in critical condition but is now resting comfortably at the hospital and is expected to recover quickly. A unified police officer was also taken to the hospital and released Thursday morning. Well, the Utah State Aggie football team, for the first time since 2013, is in the Mountain West Conference Championship game. And they will face the San Diego State Aztecs tomorrow afternoon at 1 in California. That game can be seen on Fox National Television. KVNU Game Day with Al Lewis. We'll talk about the game ahead of time at 12 noon, and then following the game right here on KVNU. KVNU Weather brought to you by Berenson Caldwell. If you've been in an accident, contact Berenson Caldwell for professional legal advice. Visit BerensonLaw.com to instantly connect and receive a free case review of your injury. BerensonLaw.com. Mostly clear, hazy tonight, low in the mid-20s, partly cloudy in the morning, then mostly sunny, high temperature around 50. It was 53 today. For the latest news, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Is your family visiting for the holidays, or are they already here? Well, they have laundry to do using your machines, and it'll take away hours from your family time. We'll send them to Mount Logan Laundry with the large 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers that dry 30% faster. They'll find clean, comfortable environment with free Wi-Fi internet and drop-off service, and they'll be back in no time. Recommend Mount Logan Laundry. They're at 5th East and 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry, the cleanest spot in town.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Happy holidays from Birch Creek Golf Course. For your golfer this Christmas, I invite you to visit birchcreekgolf.com. Birch Creek's online store offers punch passes that are on sale at the spring sale price, as well as driving range passes and discounted golf lessons from our PGA teaching staff. So for your golfer this Christmas, I invite you to visit birchcreekgolf.com and enjoy Birch Creek's virtual online store. And happy holidays from your friends at Birch Creek.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Do you have retirement questions about financial planning and investing, Medicare, estate planning, or complex tax strategies? Jessup Insurance can answer those questions. Let Jessup Insurance guide you into a better retirement. Call Jessup Insurance 435-213-3200 or Google Jessup Insurance.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
Didn't abandon you, Pete. We just thought you was a toad.
No, they never did turn me into a toad.
Well, that was our mistake then.
Welcome back to the For the People Movie Show with Andy Morgan of Andy at themovies.com. What did we? I forgot where we left off.
I really blew that one.
What did you do?
Well, we were talking and that just so listeners you can be on a fly on the wall. Jason and I were ripping George R. Martin a new one after the between the.
I'm just saying he's passed into the realm of disrespectful to his fans.
Disrespectful to his fans, but also the creators of Game of Thrones and HBO.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but if somebody comes doing a biography, if they're like, "Hey, we're doing a biography, or whatever on HBO and how they operate," you want to say some things? I'd be like, yeah, maybe not, or maybe I'd say nice things, Instead, he bags on the thing that made him $1 billion, and I just think to myself, dude, you had, 9 years.
Yeah.
You have one job. You're a paid fiction author. There are people writing fiction that don't have a full-time job. Yeah.
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 And that's why I say disrespectful to his fans to some extent. I get, I completely agree. Artists are artists, and if the muse isn't striking you, what can be done? And you don't want to put out garbage. But at the same time, 11 years, I don't know.
Yeah.
If he were to start a new series, I'm not starting book one until he's done with it.
And I'm not even. I'm to the point now where I just don't even think it's a thing.
Yeah,
he's definitely not writing book number. What is it? Is it 5? What is he?
He's planning 7, and we're waiting for the 6th.
We're waiting for Winds of Winter
now.
And then 7 is The Dream of Spring. Here's what I predict.
And The Winds of Winter.
It's gonna
Dance with Dragons was published in 2011.
Yeah.
So 10 years.
Yeah. So Winds of Winter. It'll say Winds of Winter by George R. R. Martin, finished by Stanley Martin.
Yeah.
and then the next one will be.
And I'm not reading
based on the world of George R. R. Martin.
I learned my lesson from Christopher Tolkien and Brian Herbert, not to read the Offspring's continuation of the famous sci-fi series.
Is Brian Herbert still alive?
Yeah, and he's still writing books like 3 a year.
Yeah,
none of them good.
So I don't think he has no children. No. So
he's the end of it.
Yeah. And then they'll be like, hey, David Benioff actually wrote novels before he started writing screenplays and making movies and directing. And they'll be like, David, Game of Thrones. You've written novels. Do you want to jump in here? And he'll be like, no, I don't. Not after he threw me under the bus.
I'll be honest with you, though. I'd read that. That's one person that could take Martin's place finishing that series.
Did you ever read any of Michael Crichton's unfinished novels that were finished by other people?
That was so horrible.
Well, there was two. I think there was three, wasn't there? Because there was the one that Steven Spielberg was going to make into a movie called Pirate Latitudes.
Yeah.
Did you ever read that? First off, that's a really stupid name.
Pirate Latitudes.
Yeah, I mean, they could have called it anything. I would have read a book called Pirate Time before Pirate Latitudes or Pirate, Petey the Pirate or something.
Quality Pirate Time.
Yeah, I just was. And I actually hoped for that because I was
Big
like,
Little Pirates.
Somebody asked me, they said, what's Pirate Latitudes? Like, what's the tone of that? And I said, it's like R-rated Pirates of the Caribbean.
Basically. No,
Yeah.
I mean, that really was the book.
But then there was Micro, which I thought, which was like, hey, we shrink down and ride on bugs. It was like Jurassic Park, Bug Town.
Micro was literally
Bugtastic Park.
I think that was literally him trying to cash in on.
Well, that wasn't even him. That was that Richard Preston, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, Crichton had the foundation.
Yeah, but you think maybe there's a reason why those are stuck in a file cabinet? Because I can tell you right now, when I'm working on stuff like fiction, the things I don't want people to see stay in the file cabinet.
Stephen King wrote about this once. He says he has a rule, and all of his family know about it, that if he dies, nothing that is in his lockbox is to be published because there's a reason it was in there. It isn't ready.
They open it up. They're like, Cujo too.
Yeah.
What?
Why I wrote the regulators.
Pennywise Latitudes. What is this? Clown Latitudes.
Clown Latitudes.
This sounds terrible. Oh, that's funny. Anyhow,
I like to think that the movie show leaves people with so many memorable things to ponder over the weekend. Like
that's right.
Clown Latitudes. It's going to be stuck in somebody's head.
Somebody was like, all right. Let's talk about a couple other movies that are streaming that came out last week. There's one that's an animated movie on Netflix. It's not on like the big board, where you scroll through and it's like, hey,
you must watch this.
Yeah, and the little thumbnail they use is like just like the worst possible picture they could have picked.
Oh, it's interesting watching how those change from time to time.
They do.
Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad.
But this movie, it's interesting. It's a French film based off I think it's Japanese manga. Am I saying that right? Called Summit of the Gods.
Yeah.
And it's an animated movie. It's got subtitles. It's fantastic. It's honestly probably one of my favorite films of the year.
Visually, I've only seen the trailer. Visually, it looks amazing.
Visually, I mean, the animation in it is breathtaking. The score is breathtaking. There's really no acting to talk about. And then just the story and just of it itself is, from what I understand, is a fairly good adaptation of the actual printed material. So,
this is based on something?
It's like a manga series. Did I say that right? I'm not familiar with that, but
it's called what again? Sorry.
Some of the Gods.
Some of the Gods.
Summit of the Gods.
Oh, Summit.
Someone's like, is it called Some of the Gods? Just some, not all.
I searched for Some of the Gods, and I'm getting
Greek
history.
I probably mumbled that out. Some of the Gods, because I live in Utah. I'm sorry.
Enunciate for the love of
mountain. The bishop wore chaps to the bar mitzvah. Is that better?
I subscribe to this. I listen to this podcast called Stream It or Skip It.
Yeah.
And they talked about this.
Did they say skip?
2 weeks ago. No, they said put this on your must-watch list, even if you're not a fan of manga in general, or if you know nothing about this. Which
this
I
could
don't
come
really.
across as a snooty because it's It's I don't know. I think sometimes when people see subtitles, they just get scared. Subtitles. This is really good. It's really, really, really good. I loved every minute. If I still bought Blu-rays, this would be one that I would buy on Blu-ray. It's just I'd watch it again.
Oh, we should point out too, this isn't what people think when you usually hear the words manga or anime. You think. You think fantasy,
like The Last Airbender,
big robots, and it's not. This is just.
It's just animation style.
Yeah, animation style, but it's real people, and
it's really good. I would highly recommend it. Some of the most breathtaking animation. It actually bumped Mitchell's versus the Machines to number 2 on my list.
Really?
And this is officially taken over. I can tell you, unless unless a couple other animated movies I still have on my docket to see, like somehow surprise me, including Sing 2. I'm laughing. Someone's like, "Yeah, I know, man. That's probably going to be Best Picture." This will be my best animated movie pick for sure.
The story of this is intriguing. That a photographer finds a camera that they believe belongs to a man who went missing,
Sir Edmund Hillary,
while climbing Mount Everest.
No, George Mallory.
George Mallory.
Sorry.
Yeah, so they believe it belonged to George Mallory, who disappeared climbing Mount Everest, and they go climb the mountain.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound as exciting as I read it out loud.
No, it's
but if you combine that with what you see in the trailer,
it comes into like almost an investigative journalist movie.
Yeah,
because he sees this camera. Nobody knows,
and it's assumed Mallory died on the mountain. No one knows.
No one knows because he never came back.
Yeah,
and everyone assumes that he summited, and so this guy's like, look, if I can have that, if I find that camera, then I know I'll have proof. But the other part of this is that the person he saw with the camera was another renowned climber who'd gone missing, and so there's like a dual story. He's tracking this guy down while also trying to solve another mystery, and it's just great. It's great stuff. One other that I'd like to point out.
That's very cool.
Let me pull up my list here. There's another one that's streaming on Showtime.
Okay.
And it's called The Humans. And The Humans is... Do you know about this?
I've read about this.
This is based on a play, and I cannot remember for the life of me of who directs this. Just give me 1 second here. The cast just in and of itself is something that would put me on there. This is at 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, if you care about those things. But this stars Richard Jenkins, who, again, somebody's like, oh, old Rich Jenkins. If you saw Richard Jenkins...
you know who.
Actually, probably the way to introduce Richard Jenkins to Cache Valley is to say he's the dad in Step Brothers. Everyone's like, oh, that guy.
That guy.
He's actually a great, great character actor. He's in it. Amy Schumer, who, had her moment, probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And then went away, thankfully, because we were done with Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
She pops back into this, and while she's funny, she's not overbearing. She's actually doing a very great character, just like a character study. She's actually really good. She's really good in this.
That's very cool.
Stephen Ewan is in it. People obviously know him from last year in Minari, and he played Glenn on The Walking Dead, which is probably why a lot of people recognize his face.
Poor Glenn.
Yeah, poor Glenn. Beanie Feldstein is in this. Again, not a name everyone knows about, but she was in Booksmart last year.
Oh, okay.
She's Jonah Hill's sister. I probably shouldn't refer to her that. She's
that's how most people would.
I should
relate,
refer
though.
to her as Jonah. When I talk about Jonah Hill, I should say that's Beanie Feldstein's brother.
Beanie Feldstein's brother.
June Squibb is in this, again. Not a name that you really know about, but she's June Squibb's got to be in her 70s or 80s. She's so great. And she's great in this too. And then it's got Jane Hudishell, who's actually was in the Broadway or the actual play. And it's just great. It's just Thanksgiving taking part in this small rundown apartment in New York, and it's this family getting together, and they just their problems and their issues that they all have are kind of out there in the open. But it's just one of those things where it's almost like the theme I got from it was, you know what, despite all of our imperfections, despite all the struggles we face, the troubles, that we're family, and that's the most important thing.
Sure.
It was really touching. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was probably one of my favorite films of the year. So that's on Showtime.
This is Showtime. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another one, if you have time to stream that, if you haven't, you might have seen some trailers for it. It actually came out on my birthday.
Oh,
so maybe that's a
happy birthday late.
Good omen in July. It's called Pig.
Months late.
Pig with Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, so this is apparently not at all what I thought it was.
No, it looks like John Wick.
What you've told me.
Like guy living out in the woods gets his truffle pig stolen, and then he goes to Portland and
Among Us
wreaks havoc. And it's not what it is. It's not. It's really just
Who Among Us hasn't lost their favorite truffle pig?
I know, right? But it's almost like it's just a study on like the food and what food is in our memories. and grief. It's a great movie. Highly recommend.
And that is, where's that?
That's on Hulu.
That's on Hulu.
Yeah.
Oh, free on Hulu.
Free. On
Wow,
Hulu.
you don't even have to have an account for Pig.
How about that?
Can't go wrong with Nicolas Cage either.
You know what we're going to talk about next week? Something I've never seen.
What's that?
West Side Story.
Oh, you've never seen the old one?
No.
Are you going to watch it before?
Yeah, I will. I'm going to watch the new one, and then I'll watch the old one.
I'm intrigued to see how this plays out. Such a classic, to see if it can translate into modern times. We'll see.
We'll see.
West Side Story and some previewing of Spider-Man No Way Home next week on the For the People movie show. Dave Ramsey is next here on KVN.